Okay, this is a 2008 Mazda 6. I'm going to be showing you how to change your headlight bulbs on here. Okay, if you're having low beam issues, this is your low beam, and this is going to be your high beam right over here. Now if you look up here, it'll tell you in writing which bulbs, if you have any questions. It says H1 or D2S or something there, but the H1s will work apparently for your low and your high. Okay, now we don't really need any special tools, we just need a flashlight to see in here. I'm just working over here on this driver's side. I'm going to look right back in here. This is going to be our low. We've got a cap right there that we twist, and it just twists like a little bit and it pops right off. It shouldn't take a lot of effort to turn it if you can get your hand wiggling around. I'm turning it, I'm just turning it in that direction to loosen it, and that just pops right off, and you can just kind of fiddle with it to, you know, put it back in. And you just twist, like I said, just twist like a little bit there and it comes right off. Now it's going to be really hard for me to show you in here what we're looking at, so I'm going to have to give you a better image here in a second. But there is a spring that's in here, and all I have to do is get in here and push that spring, and it just doesn't want to focus in on that right here. But there's like one little spring that I have to push down. It takes a little bit of force to push it down, but you just push it down and you like pull it towards you, and you just lift that up, and then this just pulls right out of there like that. Like I said, I'll give you a better image in just a second. We're going to go ahead. I said this bulb just pushes into this clip right here, and we're going to put on some gloves, or you want to use some tissue paper putting your new bulbs on here. But I'm going to go ahead and just pull. Sometimes these can stick. You may have to use a screwdriver or something to kind of pry that off of there, but I don't think it's going to be that stuck. Okay, on this correction, you just push, you pull this back, rather, this little piece right here, pull that back and pull the bulb with the other hand. It just slips right off. It's got a little hook there. When you pull that back, it detaches it. Okay, so here we are, a view of this driver's headlight out of the car, just to give you a good view of the connector. And you can see this cap and how it twists. This locks in there, just has that little tab that locks into place. Well, that just goes back, and then it goes on there. It only goes on like a certain way. So then we can come in here and we can see our light and our spring, and see, I mean, how simple this is. We only have one little spring here holding it on this side, and you can see how it goes into the little hook there. So when you push down and over, and you can see how it comes out of that right there. That's all you're doing, and then it just lifts up. And then when you put it back, locks right back into there. So push it down and over, and then we just pull this whole thing up, and then the light, you can see the light sits in there a certain way. See how it's setting right there. And then we just wiggle this thing out, And like I said, your new bulb, be careful not to touch it. And this, there's a little tab you can just kind of like pull on here, usually on these, and it'll help you pop it off of here. But that's all there is to that. Like I said, putting it back. I said you're not going to get a good view of this with it in the car. That's why I'm doing this. And you're going to orient it back the way it was. And then you'll just push that down and lock it right back down onto that right there. And that's all there is to it. So once you take the connector off, that's it. Okay, so this cap, just to make things simple, you've got the wide tab, and you'll see this looks like kind of like a Y. That Y faces up. So the wide tab goes right there. That's the only way it'll line up. And then you just twist lock it. If you try to put it the other ways, it doesn't match up. So the wide tab faces up on the top one, like that, and then just lock it into place. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and show you on this turn signal. This is your turn signal, and all you have to do, of course I'm looking at the back of it, but if you were facing the front, you're going to go in that direction towards the outer part of the light. Just twist in that direction. You hear it click, and then just give it a pull. Give me 1 second. Okay, I couldn't get it one-handed there. And then there you go. There's your bulb. And then put it back in. Just push it all the way. And then you'll just twist it right back up. Lock it right back into place. So I just wanted to show you that on that turn signal. And those are just standard. It's not 1157, I think it's 2157 or something. Just a standard turn signal with an amber. Can't remember the number right off the top of my head. Okay, so here we are on the high beam compartment. There's a couple of tabs that slide down in there. You can see from earlier, but you just push down and you just, those kind of pop down in there. Just like that. Be careful, just kind of give it a little pull backwards when you lift up. Be careful not to break them. And when you put it back, same thing, just they go line up and just pop right on there. So just like that. So we're able to get in here and get access to our high beam, and it can take the same bulb, the H1s. Okay, and this one's a little bit more difficult to see in the car, but it has the same sort of hook. You can see right there, and all I have to do is push, and then it comes out of there. So it's got the same sort of hook, and that's all you do is push it, and then lift up on that, and then your bulb set orients a certain way there, and then pull your bulb out, and then go ahead and change it. And then when you put it back in, just put it back in, orient it the same way, like that, and then we just push our spring back down, and then lock it back on there. And it's got the same sort of connector. You just have to kind of push down on that connector in a certain spot there to get it to release. And that's all there is to that, but that gives you a better view of this with this headlight out here. Okay, and again, we're just getting ready to slide this on. You can see that little hook there that catches on this little hole when you slip that on there. Okay, now we're just going to slip it back in here, and we're just going to make sure that we orient it the way that it goes when we're putting it back in here. Okay, and just like I showed you on the headlight, it orients a certain way. It's easy to just fill in there, and once you get it pushed down, we just push down on our clip and push it back under where that lip goes. Okay, so we got our spring reseated. You just kind of have to work with it a little bit there, because once it's fully seated, it'll pop right back on there. And we're just gonna come out here and most importantly check and make sure that it is working before you go ahead and put this cap on. This cap's not a big deal. You just kind of turn it just a little bit, locks right into place. Okay, so same thing over here on the passengers. We're just going to twist this out, lift it out through here, and we're going to go in and push our spring down, and okay, and it takes a little bit of force to push that spring down. On this side, you just push it down and forward, and then you're able to work your bulb back out. Okay, so we're just going to work this back in. Just take great care and to not touching your bulb at all. Okay, and again, when you put that in there, you'll want to orient this flat spot in that certain way. So in other words, it's going to be setting like that on this side. It's going to be setting in there like that. If you don't get it oriented the right way, it will not set down. So we're going to go ahead and just replace our cap over here, and we're done with our low beams. Okay, so the high beam, now over here on the drivers, we could take this air box out if we wanted to. We've got a connection. We could disconnect here, disconnect the hose here, this 10mm, and don't even really have to disconnect to that. You can pull this whole assembly up, pop it up and out here, set it over to the side, and you could have a lot more room. However, over here, on this side, we've got our windshield washer fluid bottle in the way, so we're not going to take any of this stuff loose. We're just going to push down. It's got a tab right there. You just push down, and this pops out, and you just give it a little tug upwards, and we're going to pull it up and out of there. Okay, so I've just set that little flap aside. You see it's got these little hooks that go down in there, and then the little clip up top. One of them actually snapped on this other side here. You can see the other one there. That's quite common. I don't know if you can see the spring there, but we're just going to go in. It's basically the same setup as the low beams. We're going to go in and push that, and that will release that bulb, and then we'll get another bulb on there. Okay, and after getting that clip, I just kind of tugged on the wires until I pulled that one up and out of there. You can see I didn't have to take the box out, so I'm going to go ahead and pop another bulb on here, and then we're going to put it back into place. Now putting it back in is going to be a little bit more difficult because I'm having to push it back in there and line it up. Like I said, it's got a certain way it orients before it's going to seat down there properly. And on this one, I'd actually say that a little screwdriver may help you out. I'm using this to get to the spring there because it's a little bit hard for you to reach in there with this box with your hand, but I did get it. Okay, so we got our new bulb on and slipped in there and rehooked it. It wasn't as hard as I thought. I'd get this little cap and slip it back down into the grooves, and the top will snap back on there, no big deal. Okay, and now on the passenger side, same thing. We're going to push down on this right here, and this is going to slip out, and we're going to have to pull it up and out of them clips, and hopefully not break any of them this time. Okay, and this side is actually a little bit easier because you can get a better view and you don't have the air box. And no big deal, just press down on that and release our spring, and then we just grab these wires right here that are holding it, and we just pull them right straight back. And it might try to hang up a little bit on the wires. Okay, and there's that bulb, and we're just going to put a new one on there, and the same thing. These just pull off. Doesn't have any fancy anything on there. Just pull straight off, push it back on. Okay, so we're just getting our new bulb. One thing I'll say, you may want to use a screwdriver and taking the old one off because they can really stick on there. Again, use some tissue paper or something. Make absolutely sure you do not touch your new bulb. We're going to go ahead and just get this one back into place now. And again, we've got to make sure to orient this flat spot here. Okay, so we got that reclipped. Was pretty easy. Now we're just going to snap this piece back down into its grooves, or those slots, those two slots you see there. Snap those back down in there and just lock this back into place. Just make sure you get it lined up right. Okay, so that's going to conclude this video. If you found it helpful, give it a like. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and I thank you for watching.